Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Flossmas. Today is December 10, which is a Sunday, and I'm so happy to be with you for another day. You may have noticed that yesterday's episode went up a little bit late. I actually had a fun stitching day. I went up to Stitch New England and joined Pam in her shop and other people there for a stitching day, and so I got it out. I got the episode filmed, but I didn't actually get it uploaded before I needed to hit the road. But we'll be trying to get back on track with early morning kind of uploads moving forward. There may be a couple times when I have to record at night, but I'll still plan to try and upload in the morning each day. So I am really happy to be with you. I actually have two cats today right out of shot who are very curious about what's going on. So we'll see what happens in this episode. But welcome to another episode. It is good to be with you. So I'm going to start with just the kind of normal content, and you'll notice this is another one of those days where there's a little bit of a theme to what we're talking about, and that's going to be A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and all of the various ways that you can kind of celebrate that piece of literature. So the first thing I want to show you is my fully finished object. So this is something that you saw in the house tour on one of my displays. And this is a reindeer that I picked up at, I don't know, Joanne, something like that. And I thought he's got these long skinny legs and these wonderful antlers. And I just thought he was so wonderful. And I purchased it not really knowing what I was going to do with it, but I did come up with the idea of using it to finish some cross stitch. So you'll see that it's just finished as kind of a soft piece here and then tied on the top. And the piece that we have here is a quote from A Christmas Carol, and it's the quote about, "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all year through," which is one you see many places. There are actually quite a lot of cross-stitch designs with that quote. And this is one that was part of a three-part series that Lizzie Kate produced a number of years ago. I'm forgetting the name of the series off the top of my head, but I will try it. I will add that into the description box. And this is essentially the central motif of one of those parts. So you do, I think, have to buy at least one of the pieces in order to do this stitch, and then you would have to buy the whole thing in order to do the full piece. But this was the one that I really loved. And I used sulky threads to complete this. I bought one of the packs that you can buy that comes with a number of colors pre-selected, and it was fairly close to the called for colors in the pattern, and so I did use that. You'll notice the yellow is a little bit hard to read from a distance, but when you're standing pretty close, it's quite good. So we've got at least one of them. Wesley's sitting over here going, "I'm ignoring you all." But we do have Doc with us today. So this is one that I have up in my craft room, and I really just enjoy this piece. I love how the finish looks on this reindeer, and he kind of goes around the house depending on where I need some decorations. So that is by Lizzie Kate. And then I also want to show you, I'm going to put this on the floor just so that there's easier passage for cats. The next one I want to show you is a piece by Erica Michaels, and this is called Ebenezer's Christmas. And you'll notice that it has that same quote at the top with some more traditional Christmas colors, as well as several other quotes from A Christmas Carol in this piece. And what I intend to do is just stitch that top piece with the quote and using kind of those more traditional reds and greens for a piece. Because again, like honestly, I think it'll be fine to have this quote in multiple places. It's used a lot. I really like this pattern. And it's, we talked in an earlier episode about the ways that designers can take the same idea and turn it into a different pattern, a different thing that we can enjoy. And I think this is another one of those examples, is a popular quote and how different designers use their style and their kind of ideas about it to create something new. So in the future, this is one that I will be stitching as well. And what I haven't done the measurements yet, but this is my kind of general thought on a finishing idea. This is just one of those little paper empty boxes that you can buy at a craft store. They come out with a variety of different things. And of course, this one is labeled A Christmas Carol. And so what I'm hoping is I can use Teresa Kogut's technique of finishing on a book cover. And I will complete this top piece and then mount it on the book cover. And it does have the book name here on the spine as well. And what I'm thinking, because it's a landscape view, is I may be able to finish it here and then keep it with that view and then actually have it set so that the cover is slightly open for the display. I think that's what I'm going to try and do. Of course, it depends on the measurements and what size fabric I'll need to use if it works, but it was something I picked up in hopes that that would be something that I can use for this piece in the future. So that's one that I am hoping to stitch someday. Next, we have the update on the advent calendar that I'm stitching each day. This one, number 10, was a pretty easy piece. You see that just little, very basic snowflake in the center. And so it was something I was able to stitch very quickly yesterday. The next one is a snowman. Spoiler alert, the next one is a snowman, and it's a lot more complicated. It has a lot of over one stitching in that case. So that one will probably take me a little bit of extra time when I'm working on it. But again, I'm just really pleased with how this piece is coming out and how it is looking. And then the next two things we want to do is, of course, open our advent calendars together. And so first we have our Tom and Lily Creations thread calendar. Today we have, oh, very nice. We've got another little plastic bobbin, and then, oh, Lumiere, a beautiful yellow. I'm going to assume that that may be a reference to Lumiere, the candlestick from Beauty and the Beast, or at least I'm going to assume that that's what it is, but a really vibrant, wonderful yellow. Again, something you can use in a wide variety of patterns. So that is today's thread from Tom and Lily. And then from Historical Sampler Company, we've got another big package today, so we'll see. Oh, cute. This is a make your own reindeer felt kit, and it comes with everything you need. This is by Trimmits, Trimits in the UK, and it's got just this little Rudolph with rosy cheeks and some sequins. That will be a really fun piece that you can hang for decorations, and just some basic stitching in order to put it together, it looks like. So that's going to be a really fun little cute projects to do. So that is today's gift from the Historical Sampler Company. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is just a little more about A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I grew up, of course, knowing about Christmas Carol, but it wasn't something that we read or listened to or really talked about in my family tradition. I know some families that is. And so I knew about it, but I hadn't actually read the original or really was aware of the details beyond what kind of in pop culture. And so I was well into adulthood. I think I may have been in or after law school before I actually read A Christmas Carol for the first time. And I really enjoyed it. And it was when you realize this is a classic for a reason. This is something that is teaching us kind of important things to think about. But the reason that I actually really, I think what brought me to reading it for the first time is actually an adaptation of it that I listened to. And this was something that I originally purchased on cassette tape, because this was still the era of cassette tapes and you could find them pretty inexpensively. And that is a one-man show, one-man performance, a recording of this that Patrick Stewart did on Christmas Carol. And this was something that he did, I believe, for years, before he was on Star Trek, after he was on Star Trek. And it was a production or a performance that he did as a solo performer of the story. And he would perform the entire thing using all of the voices, characters, adding in, there were sound effects and some things like this. And at some point they did record it and release it. And I now have it on, I have an Audible. That's the word I was looking for. I do have an Audible version that I listen to, and that's something that I kind of do listen to each year. And this year I also decided to listen to a recording of the full book, because the Patrick Stewart version is an adaptation. It is a truncated version of it. And so I thought, it's been a while, I should reread or re-listen to the original version. And so I have a version by Tim Curry, that he is the reader of it. And it's also just an absolutely wonderful performance. And it's interesting to note too what a really well-seasoned audiobook reader, how they choose to read a book versus the way that Patrick Stewart is choosing to actually perform it. Because, a good audiobook reader is not making every sentence exciting and putting the emphasis on everything. They are there to read the story. They add in character voices and names, and there is kind of an excitement or energy or an emotion that comes out in those in the dialogue, but you typically don't put that into the narration itself. The words of the story speak for themselves, and I think that that's something that maybe kind of less experienced audiobook readers do, is they try and add in all of that extra emotion through their voice in the narration and not let the words speak for themselves. And Tim Curry kind of really gets it. He has just a wonderful melodious voice during the narration, and then of course uses the emphasis and the extra in the voices and in the dialogue themselves. Whereas the Patrick Stewart version, because he's on stage by himself for, I don't know, it's 75 minutes or something like this, he adds in much more of that even to the narration itself, because it's a different way of presenting the information and it's not just a straight reading of the text. And so I really enjoyed seeing those two different kind of takes on it. There are, of course, many adaptations of A Christmas Carol. One that I have enjoyed in the past is The Goes Wrong Show, which is kind of a British comedy troupe that has produced a series of stage productions and TV productions about an amateur theater company that is really bad, and they just constantly put on these performances that go wrong in massive ways. And one of the ones that they have produced is A Christmas Carol, and at this point they've been sort of banned from being on TV because of how bad things have gone in the past. And they actually, enjoy this? Wesley's thinking about coming over here. They've been banned, and so they plot this project, this idea to like basically sneak into the BBC and take over a production of The Christmas Carol. Derek Jacobi is playing Scrooge, and several of the actors are trying to play Scrooge instead. So at some point there are multiple Scrooges in the show. Anyway, you should watch it. It's, you know, it's streaming. You can find copies of it, and that is, I think, A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, or Goes Wrong Christmas Carol, something like that. So that one is like, that one is really focusing on the humor of the story. There's a version that I've listened to that is Laurence Olivier. It's a very truncated version of him kind of telling this story kind of by a fireside. And then, of course, every year, I've also very late in life came to A Muppet Christmas Carol, which is very quickly became one of my favorite holiday activities too, is watching that one, which has the humor but also the pathos. And Michael Caine famously said something to the effect of like, I will do this movie with you, but I am going to play Scrooge as if I am playing a serious Scrooge. I'm not playing this for comedy. So it is a really great performance of him, but also it has all of the Muppets and the humor and everything that we enjoyed about it as well. And it's just a really heartwarming production, in addition to being something funny and well done. So Muppet Christmas Carol is one I enjoy. I found several other versions. Judith, there's a version read by Hugh Grant, I'm just saying, a couple other things. And so you can find Christmas Carol in so many different formats, played to different audiences for different reasons. And I think that that demonstrates the strength of the story and the timelessness of the messages in it, that you can do this, and really it can bring out that throughout whatever version and whatever kind of adaptation it is. So definitely something that has become something later in life that has been part of my holiday tradition, and that I kind of seek out in ways to kind of learn more about it and see it in its many varieties. So anyway, I don't really have a point to what I was saying, other than simply one of the things I do at the Christmas time is actually enjoy different versions of A Christmas Carol, and I feel like I get something out of each of them. And I look forward to continuing to experience that over time as we continue to see versions and adaptations and portrayals of that. So anyway, with that, I think I will close things out. I will get this episode uploaded. My plans for the rest of the day are, I have some cookies that I need to be making. One of the things I'm doing right now is I'm filming while I'm waiting for the butter to soften, and some things like that. So it's one of those days where you do a little bit, you sit down, you do a little bit, you come back to it later. So there will be a couple cookies, and I'll talk about those in a future video, assuming that they go well. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy your holiday season, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.